with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Leslie, when you're ready.
One second. Okay. Mark DePace,
Here.
Amanda Grubler,
Here.
Kirsten Gustafson,
Here.
Willette Jones,
Here.
Calvin Lewis,
Here.
Matthew Macrer,
Here.
Lakia Walker. Here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I make a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. At this time, we have a community budget workshop.
Good evening, Board of Education. Tonight, I'll be presenting a draft budget. I want to make sure that I enunciate the word draft. With me tonight presenting, I have Anita Murphy, who has been assisting me during the absence of business official to help to draft a budget. And when our new business official comes, she'll also join and continue until we reach a final budget. Our budget was created with the vision and mission in mind. So our vision states that we create an inclusive learning environment that honors the many passions, cultures, and talents of our students. And as students, staff, and the community, we commit to learning, exploring, and achieving together. So for our mission, we embrace all students and inspire them to achieve their personal best as Blue Hawks and beyond. I just want to point out a couple of words: inclusive, learning environment, talents of our students, and embracing all students and inspiring them to achieve their personal best as Blue Hawks. So our budget, the final budget, will do just that, and we are attempting to do that now with our proposed budget. Also, to help guide us on coming up with a final budget, we have included the 6 keys, which we know are strengthening the leadership capacity, the instructional core, data-driven practices, promoting an inclusive environment for all stakeholders, increasing monitoring and accountability, and then a tiered approach to support and intervention. In this draft budget, we maintained everything with the gap. So we maintained general funds and with a proposed tax levy increase of 2%, which is below the district cap. And we also continued investments in classroom instruction and student supports. Here are historical budget totals. So from 2021 to 2024, the budget included ARP ESSA funds. As you can see, between 2021 until now, we have a 4.33% increase within our budget over the past 5 years.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Anita Murphy. I'll do a little bit of an introduction of myself before I start. I am a retired district superintendent at Capital Region BOCES. I left a year and a half ago. I have clearly failed retirement. I never failed at anything my entire life until I retired, then I have certainly failed at this. Before that, I was a superintendent of schools. I spent the good majority of my career, other than a couple of years that I spent at State Ed as the associate commissioner, in the large city schools. So I switched between operations and instruction for a good part of my career. So just so you know who I am not a school business official, but have done big budgets for a very long time because that's what happens when you're old. So I want to start talking about the tax levy history, and I'm going to be very straight up with everybody here. If you look at your tax cap compared to what you've levied in taxes, you have not come close to your tax cap over time. And like Dr. Penniman said, 22, 23, 21, 22, 2021, 23, 24, you had ARP ESSER money. That's first time, one time only money that you were spending on lots of things, including reoccurring costs. And so not going to the tax cap, every time we do that, we're leaving money on the table, quite frankly. This budget that we're talking about right now has a gap. Clearly, when you get a budget, the next budget workshop, you will not have a gap, but there are things that the board needs to discuss. For example, if this year you're not doing anything about historically with the tax cap, if you go to the tax cap right now, the 3.55%, you generate about $390,000 worth of revenue more. So when we talk about the gap, take that away if you go to the tax cap. The other thing is, you're not going back and going to the tax cap, but you're also, that revenue is not in your budget right now. And if it were, your gap would be even smaller. So it's a discussion that the board needs to have eventually about, do you want to go to the cap or not? But when we get to the gap, I'll talk a little bit more about that. This is your tax impact with a 2% increase. We built a 2% increase into this budget due to what you have historically done. If you go back and look, 2%, 0%, 2%, we built 2% in. I'm going to suggest that you probably can't do that this year, but we did it just so you know what we're dealing with right now. And this is your estimated increase. You're about it with the rest of the hunt with everybody if they had a 2% increase additionally. So you're not far off on the up or down from any of the districts that we're doing a comparison of. So here's the other issue in your budget right now, the revenue. These are the draft revenues. This literally, remember, the governor has released her budget, and we don't know what's going to happen right now with the legislature. We won't know. Hopefully, they'll pass a budget by April 1st. And once we make some decisions, the board makes some decisions about what we want to do about the local tax levy, we'll know a lot more and be able to do a lot more. But a big part of the problem is you're flat. The district is virtually getting, a small 2% increase in aid, although your other aids are going up and down, and you have additional costs that we need to budget for example, transportation. And so your budget numbers look very flat comparatively to last year's budget. We all know that in a district, things go up. Doesn't matter if your revenues are flat, health insurance, contractual increases, other things, transportation costs, utilities costs, things that drive the budget are going to go up. And if you're only getting 2% from the state, which you're not really getting a full 2%, but if you're only getting 2%, you're starting at a deficit. You're starting in a deficit situation, and so you try to do some sensible things. We talk about expenses like We want to budget for things the way that they actually cost, so that we don't end up in a situation going forward where we know. There's another kind of unknown when we talk about expenses, but if you look at your projected state aid, you have a tiny increase. And this budget is, right now, we're talking about using a $1.1 million in reserves. You already have more than 4%. I don't think this is an outrageous thing, given what Dr. Pennyman has done this year. Some of the things, like she has not been filling positions that she did not need to fill right now, so that you're not making cuts to personnel. If we don't have to fill it, she's not been filling it, and that should recover some money to fund balance for next year. Not put a spending freeze on a long time ago. Again, same thing. We're trying to lessen the shock for next year in this year's budget. Smart, it's fiscally responsible. Kudos to her for doing that. But we're talking about using $1.1 million of fund balance and $200,000 in your TRS or ERS reserve, which is there. That's what it's for. Again, it's going to be up for the board to decide. You could decide we're going to use $500,000 more in reserves. We're going to use $500,000 less in reserves. Again, up to the board. This sounds like a rational number right now with your current financials and knowing. We don't know right now, but it seems like a reasonable number, and it keeps you above the 4%. You can choose to go down further. Comptroller says you're really only supposed to have 4%. But we don't know what's going to happen going forward, and I don't mean next year, I mean the year after. Hudson has dropped enrollment. We all know what happened last year when the governor said, I'm going to fund by actual enrollment. They didn't do that this year. They actually did two things in the governor's budget that advantage districts like Hudson. One is the calculation of special ed costs, and one is the calculation of poverty rates. And so even then, you're still at the minimum, the 2% minimum. So I believe, having lived in a leadership capacity during 2009, 10, 11, when the gap elimination adjustment was put in and districts literally lost state aid and laying off hundreds of people in Syracuse City School District at that time. We don't want to end up there. We really want to have a multi-year plan and plan ahead for what's coming down the pipe. I think what we have right now is responsible. It's going to be better, obviously. It's going to be balanced, but we wanted to make sure that the board had a chance to see what actually is today before we moved ahead to what we can do about it. Nope, Anita. You have to hit the right button. So these are your aid comparisons, and that's exactly what I just said. I mean, your foundation aid is about $375,000 difference, and you can see some things are up, some things are down. We won't know these actual numbers until after again, these are based on what you submit in October, but your actual numbers are based on what you submit in your ST3 in February. And so we actually won't know these exact numbers. This is true every year. These are not, they're never exact until after the legislature passes the budget. They can tweak things all over the place. You're not so far off. I mean, unless the legislature decides to give districts a whole bunch more money. You're not so far off, but we'll know exactly after April 1st. Hopefully they'll pass the budget. We're understanding that they're already talking about it, so that's a good thing. That's a good thing for districts. So here's the, right now, here's the suggestion. General support up $127,000. Instruction, which includes, salaries and other things, up $703,000. Transportation is the big driver in this year's budget. You are, it was under budgeted last year. I know that this board has had a discussion about that numerous times. I've actually talked to some of you about that. And so we want to actually budget what transportation is going to cost so that we're not having these discussions about how you're going to fill a hole. Obviously, benefits it is what it is, right? Health insurance goes up when it goes up, and other things go up in benefits. So this number is inclusive of health insurance, retirement benefits, fringe benefits, other things. And then your debt service is going down. That sounds like a great thing, that you have less in debt. You also get less in aid when you have less in debt, and so this would be me, but eventually you're gonna have to do something about your building projects to get that back up. You really want to have that level across time, not for today. So in the end, right now with what we have done, which is not made any cuts at all, except for one person who is moved and we're not filling a position. It's a very small number, quite frankly. Your projected revenues are $56,000 with your expenses at 58, and your gap is 1.74. If you went to the tax cap, that gap looks like 1.3, about 1.3. It sounds like a lot of money. I think it is manageable over the next few weeks. Obviously, you want your gap to be the least that you can. I think it's very important for the board to have an understanding of what the governor's budget is, what is potential down the road for the district, and where you stand without starting to say, we need to cut this, we need to cut that, we need to cut this. Dr. Pennyman and the folks here in Hudson should be, and are, but in a couple of weeks should have a pretty good idea based on the board's discussion about the tax cap, where we would try to fill this gap. We may come back and say, look, we need more in fund balance. Here's what the number is. Here's what we're going to do. But I really wanted the board to have a discussion before, and I want you to know the actual picture. So the tax cap is a conversation for sure. Fund balance will be a discussion in the future. And here's what I would suggest. I always suggest this. The tax cap should be sooner rather than later. I think when we say, okay, here's what $1.3 million in cuts looks like, the board can then decide, okay, we want to use $400,000 more in fund balance or whatever that number might be. Juliette and her team will make that suggestion to the board, and ultimately that's up to the board to decide what they want to do with that fund balance. But I think it's important for you all to see the big picture and understand what's going on without any of those things being included. That's really it for the financial things in this. I'm happy to answer questions before Juliette finishes with the timelines.
Can you go back to the state aid sheet?
Sure. Maybe.
Yeah, that one.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. The other one.
Back one more?
Yep.
This one?
It's hard to see on the screen, but there are totals in the border at the bottom.
Yeah.
Is there a question about UPK being available or not?
I don't know that. I think UPK is funded. The thing about UPK is UPK is not one thing. It would be nice to think that it is. It isn't. Some of it comes, and Hudson was funded on the front end of UPK, so you have different kinds of UPK grants in there. Nobody's talking about cutting pre-K at the state. Nobody is talking about cutting pre-K
Okay.
at the state.
So The total of the difference column
Yep.
is a $764,000 increase in state aid.
It could be a totally different grant.
I understand that. The center column
Yep.
is only a $26,000 increase. So UPK is not included in the total at the bottom of the page.
That could be true because it's grants.
Okay, but it's not included in the revenue. What I'm saying is the sum on the page is incorrect. And then the revenue page has the incorrect sum on it. So I think our state aid is $700,000 more than what's in the presentation.
Great. Let's hope that you're right. I will check the spreadsheets. Your former interim business official did these. I will talk to her tomorrow. I
Okay.
hope that is correct.
Okay,
That would be a great problem.
okay. Can we go back to the state aid for a second? So
This-
our
this one?
Yeah, our transportation aid
Yep.
is, we have a rate of 50%,
Yep.
and it's based on the prior year's transportation.
Yep.
So if we're on pace to do $5.6 million of transportation
That will go
expense,
up. That's for sure.
that number will go up.
That's correct.
Okay,
So that's exactly what I'm talking about, right? Like, these are estimates based on what you reported in November.
Okay.
And so we don't know what that actual number is. If in fact your transportation, if you are on pace to spend 5 million, that will also go up. You are 100% correct.
Okay.
Where does Title I funding
Yeah,
show
that's
up in this?
Those are federal funds. So
Okay, so where do we,
you don't.
where does that show
you-
up in
you
this
don't,
at all?
You don't. So.
Okay.
This is, and that's actually a really important question. It's a really important question. So, your general fund budget is what the voters vote on and what they do. The title funds and your IDEA funds, your competitive grants, the other kind of grants are never going to be in these numbers. What you hope you can do is if somebody has to roll off of a general fund, you're hoping you can put them in a title fund or a grant fund. That's risky. It's risky. We don't know what's going to happen with title funds right now. I think that's all up in the air. I would suspect, because the federal budget is a year, it lags. It lags a year. That what we can expect in the title funds. It's also really important to know that title funds and IDEA funds are all done by application. And so we don't even get those applications till May to do that. I would not expect huge fluctuations unless the current administration does something with this last year's budget for them, which would be now. I do not expect that, but that is a great point for planning forward, which is why we need to think about not just a one-year plan, but a multi-year plan, because really what you want to do is hope for the best, plan for the worst.
and I guess in terms of risks for federal funds, we have people and programs that are being paid out of those currently. So
Correct.
if that disappears, we have to, either they come back to the general fund or.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. That's correct. I'm a believer that it's hard to do this, and you can't do it in 1 year, and you certainly can't do it in this, but I promise you as a superintendent or a deputy superintendent, I believe that my own personal opinion, I'm very conservative when it comes to these numbers, extraordinarily. We should be booking everybody that is absolutely necessary in the general fund, and then if you get the title funds, you back them out. It helps you truthfully. It helps you make sure that you're always maintaining a savings account. That's not, it doesn't need to exceed the 4%, but in bad times, if anybody was around and when we cut budgets back in, if you're old like me and we cut budgets, I think it's really important. You can't do that in 1 year. You probably can't do that in 2 years, but it really does make a point for multi-year budgeting because those people that are in title funds and IDE funds are important and mostly would have to go back to your general fund.
Just a question about the 58 million number.
Yep.
Just some, just clarifying, so that's basically taking everything from this year's budget and rolling it over with the exceptions of one teacher position and.
Not a teacher position.
Staff position.
Yep.
And an increase in transportation to.
Yep.
Meet our actual expenditures?
Yep.
And has there been any effort to go back to other items in the budget?
Oh, of
and-
course,
okay.
of course. I think we want to talk about the tax cap, and then we know, of course, there are places that we know we can cut that won't impact kids. Are we all the way there? Absolutely not. I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks we'll get all the way there. But it's really going to be, I hope you're right, Matt. I hope that there's a $700,000 mistake and we're really talking about cutting $700,000 and cutting 1.3 and cutting 1.7 is a big difference, right? It's a big difference. So once we know that, I think it's easier to go back and say, okay, here's how we got to get there.
Right, but the error, the mathematical error plus potentially more transportation aid could make it even less.
Sure. Let's hope that's true. Seriously, let's hope that's true.
Is there concern, I know we've been talking a lot about transportation budget, and based on the estimate that Matt just made for that this year is good, looks like it's likely to come out at 5.6.
Yep.
Is there concern in this draft budget that transportation, is not enough in here and that we need to proactively bump that up more so that we have real numbers? Because I think if we're trying to not continue to have a transportation hole, I would advocate for not underestimating in this moment.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna be, I don't think that's underestimated right now. You have some factors in transportation that are, we don't know. But I agree with you. These need to be, that's a sizable increase, and it is only responsible to budget what you need.
Well, just to be clear, the 5.3 is almost exactly what we spent last year, 23-24. So the problem is we've been rolling our budget over, but not looking at the actuals to give a gut check. So I would just say as the process continues, we need to make sure we're cognizant of that.
Okay, and listen, I think that's very smart. Again, I think that's really smart. And if we can get a handle on what the actual cost is,
Yeah.
Then you really do want to. But all your actuals, you don't. This is not a place to say, well, we'll roll the dice, right? You know what your contractual increases are. You budget for those increases. You actually don't know what your health insurance increase is right now, and so you take a very conservative stance on that. You take a very conservative stance, I believe. Listen, this is me. Some people will roll those dice. You shouldn't be. Don't roll those dice. It's not a good idea. Anybody else?
No, we haven't talked about the tax cap much, but I'll just say that I'm personally comfortable with the 2% and think our community appreciates that we don't always go up to the actual tax cap and, keep their spending and their pocketbooks in mind.
Anybody else on that?
I think it depends what the actual numbers look like here. I think that if we're facing hard decisions around cutting staff versus rallying the community around a slightly higher tax cap, my sense is the community would rally around that in support of our kids.
It's something we will definitely talk about with you guys in the next couple of weeks. So thank you. I appreciate it. Happy to answer any questions later, too.
Great.
Juliet?
Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
So, the budget unknowns, so the state aid won't be finalized until April 1st. The out-of-district BOCES placement, those are unknowns. Transportation for out-of-district placement, that's an unknown. Contract, we've got almost all of the contracts, but some other contract negotiation for administrators, well, that's completed. We just completed that, so we can mark that off. And then we have some outstanding grant applications. However, since we know where we are with grants, that's an unknown. But what I do know is that we are going to have a grants presentation at the board meeting for you. I think it's either, we put it on the calendar for the 25th next time. So what happens if our budget is not approved? So if the voters defeat a proposed budget, school district can either hold another budget vote in June or immediately adopt a contingency budget for the coming year. If a budget is defeated a second time, the district must adopt a contingent budget. Under the law, the tax levy is a contingent budget. It cannot be increased from the prior year. What does this mean? This means that the district would need to reduce spending in the amount of the levy increase and the budget gap. Additionally, a contingent budget, what it does, it places restriction on equipment purchase, certain non-union salary increases, and the community use of school facilities. The budget development timeline. So March 25th, we're going to have another budget workshop. April 1st, state budget is due, and the application for absentee ballots are available here in the district office from Leslie. April 8th, the community budget workshop, another one from 6 to 6:30 during the Board of Education meeting. April 21st is the deadline for submitting petitions for propositions to be placed on the ballot, which is 30 days preceding the budget vote. April 22nd, Rensselaer Columbia Green BOCES budget or Questar budget, the deadline for the Board of Education to adopt the property tax report card, and the budget documents are available to the public. April 24th is voter registration day from 4 to 8 p.m. in Hudson Junior Senior High cafeteria. April 28th, the property tax report card is due to the New York State Department of Education. April 30th, the school board nomination petitions are due to the district clerk by 5 p.m. And then May 6th is the public hearing for the proposed budget at 6, and it's the last day to register to vote. May 20th, the vote happens, the proposed budget and the school board election. So we'll know all about that at our May 20th meeting, what happens. Then June 17th is a statewide budget revote date if needed, let's hope not. And then July 1st, 2025, we implement the 2025-26 budget. Thank you, and that ends our presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Nate.
So now we have food service presentation.
Hi.
Hello.
I don't know you all, but my name's Lisa McGovern. I run the food service here at Hudson City School District. I was I just started recently, I think it was last year. This is me and my doggies. So I didn't realize I was going to be following such a weighty presentation, but I'm trying to bring the fun here. So usually you could find me out on the trail with my dogs, my husband, and our four-wheelers or our bikes. So that's me. I'm kind of an outdoors type girl, and we're trying to bring the fun back to lunch. So This is Jeff. He's from Cap Region BOCES, and he's going to talk a little bit about finances, and then I'll come back and I'll talk a little bit more about food, probably everybody's favorite topic, right?
Great.
As long as you're not hungry.
So I'll just give you a little bit of background about myself. As Lisa said, I'm Jeff Brott. I'm the director of the Shared Food Service Program at Cap Region BOCES. This is our 4th year of being in Hudson. And so we, when we started, this is the 7th year we've had the program at Cap Region BOCES. When we started with 2 districts. And we now have 36 school districts that we provide food service to, and we go all the way from Tupper Lake in the Adirondacks all the way down to Beacon in Dutchess County. And everything in between. We serve roughly about 60,000 students a day. So our program has grown by leaps and bounds. And I can tell you, a couple years ago we were here, for those that were on the board, and there were some concerns about the food service program here. And I can tell you that the job Lisa has done here is above and beyond. I mean, the program here is probably one of the top 5 programs we have in our 36 districts. And Lisa's gonna, expound more on that as we get on later into the presentation. But the job she has done here has been miraculous in how you can actually transform school food service and expose kids to foods that they haven't seen before and get them excited about what we can do is really nothing short of amazing. So I'll just, kind of start out for those people that may not know that the school lunch fund operates totally separate from the general fund. And the cafeteria or the C fund operates really as its own business within the school district. We get our funds from federal USDA and state meal reimbursements and any additional cash sales. Because we get our funding from the federal government, we also have to follow the regulations that are set forth by USDA and are actually administered in New York by SED. There are times that a school district, the lunch fund may end up requiring support from the general fund, but because Hudson is a CEP district, meaning that everybody in the school district eats for free, it affords us some different opportunities as far as the funding, and that gives us, actually, we're able to carry a fund balance up to 6 months to put back into the program. And I think a good example here is last summer when we renovated and bought new furniture in the high school cafeteria. It's made a huge difference in how, how kids act at the high school, how they perceive the program. It does a lot of things. Which way? Is that right? Next slide. There we go. So this is this slide shows our average daily participation year over year. And the slide on the left is the breakfast average daily participation percentage. And there's still a lot of work that we can do to get kids to get a breakfast meal. Roughly, our high months were, right around 30% of students get a breakfast meal district-wide. And so, for whatever reason, they may be at home, they come late, they just come in and go right to class. So that's something we're working on. But if you look over on the right, you will see that, in the last 2 years, how our lunch participation has really shot through the roof. I mean, we were under 60% in September in 22-23, and we are now, as of this past September, we're at 70%, which is, it's amazing when you have a district where 70% of your kids are actually getting a meal. And I always say, just because food is free, if it's not good and doesn't look right, kids aren't going to eat it. And there's some perception that people have that, well, the lunch is free, they'll eat it. No. That's where, you have to give kudos to Lisa and the staff here of what they've done to inspire the program to get kids to participate, especially at lunch. And so, our high this month was breakfast. In October, we served, over 9,000 breakfasts. But when you go to lunch, we are roughly, serving in the month of October 22,000 meals, and that's a lot of meals. And so definitely, and we continue to work on getting that. You'll see that, if we look at November, December, they were pretty close and a little bit under what we did last year, but we are definitely on the upward trajectory of serving more meals here.
Yep, and I'll just talk to you a little bit about how we got there. Because we started out, when I first started, I talked to a lot of other food service directors, and they told me that one of the most important things is to never go viral with a horrible post about food. No one wants to see limp French fries on their Facebook page, right? So my goal was to put out PR at least twice a month through the Facebook, something positive. And I was told by Avi that we had one of the most liked posts on the Facebook page because everybody loves food, right? And who doesn't love a picture of food and likes to look at it and see what their kids are eating? And maybe it might even be something that inspires the parents to make at home. Oh, I never thought of that. Let me make that at home, right? So I also partnered with our ag teachers that you brought in this year. And I went into the classroom and I taught the kids how to make homemade yogurt. So that was during, I think it was, I don't remember what month that was, but it was during November, during the month that we did dairy as our harvest of the month. And showing the kids how to make yogurt from home in a very easy way that they could actually take home and recreate themselves from a gallon of milk that's about to go bad. So this is I think a great lesson to everybody of like how to be thrifty and make things for yourself that are healthy for your gut, healthy for yourself, and also fun and interesting, and you can make other things with it. So we made 3 other recipes with the yogurt. We did an apple salad, we did tzatziki, and then smoothies. They loved the smoothies, so that was fun. And then we also have partnered with Miss Noack's class, and she is growing herbs in the grow towers in her class. And we're taking those herbs and adding them to our recipes in the kitchen right here at the high school. And we're highlighting the students that grew the herbs, and we're trying to talk about, how you can use these at home. So I think this was just last week actually that we made burritos and we added fresh cilantro. We have been doing local menu items with our Harvest of the Month program. Every month we take one local item and we showcase it throughout the month. And I have personally, yes, we buy New York State is considered local, but I've been trying to do as hyper local as we can do so that we can help support the actual community that's surrounding this district and within our district. So I'm trying as much as I can to meet local farmers. I've been working with Cornell Cooperative Extension program that helps me find farms that are near here that we're gonna try to use a lot more of next year. But this year we did corn, And we actually roasted the corn in the husk so that the kids could get the husking experience. So it was really fun. They loved it. They thought it was cute and funny. So we also did apples, of course, because we're the apple capital of the world, right? But we had 10 different kinds of apples on our menu, and we did a huge display, and we talked about where each apple came from, and we had tasting notes on each apple so that we talked about what it was going to taste like when they bit into that apple, right? We did kale, and I knew this was going to be a challenge, but you know what? I knew it was a hit when I walked around and the kids said they were putting the kale salad on their burger. So I said, okay, that's one we're gonna have to do again, because they definitely liked that. And then we just recently did sweet potatoes, and they loved that. They had breakfast for lunch, and we did sweet potato bites with their French toast sticks, and they loved them. In the high school, this is what I think has really helped contribute to our increase in numbers was BOCES got us a grab-and-go cooler, and that thing is packed and stacked every day with meal kits, with sandwiches, with pre-made salads. We have some of our own salad recipes that we came up with. We do a falafel salad with hummus. We use some flatbreads that we toast with various different spices every week. And we just try to keep it fun, keep it interesting, keep them guessing, put different things out there. And then we made kind of a rotating 4-week salad and sandwich menu so that we don't have the same thing out there every day. But we always have the favorite, which is the buffalo chicken salad. And then we have come up with some fun and diverse signature menu items. We've been doing that's our falafel salad with the hummus, and we make pickled red onions to put on top because they're bright pink, and who doesn't love pink food, right? And then the falafel wrap we do with the julienne vegetables, and we put hummus in there. Sometimes we put tzatziki in there that we make. And then we've also made our own signature Hudson Hot Pockets that we put all kinds of different stuff in there. Sometimes we do teriyaki chicken, sometimes we do buffalo chicken, sometimes we do meatball parm, whatever you can think of that you can stuff inside of a pizza shell. And we also do, like, I guess the falafel is kind of an example of we always have a vegetarian or a vegan option every day so that people that don't eat meat or are halal can always have something that they can choose from. We do a halal chicken sandwich every day as well, but we are not a halal certified kitchen because it is a lot more than just putting out food that's, labeled halal, right? So you have to have separate ovens, separate coolers, all of the things. So we don't try to make like we are anything that we're not. We are very upfront about the fact that this is not necessarily a halal item, but we use halal chicken in the chicken sandwich. But we do try to really cater to people's diverse and burgeoning taste buds. So maybe they've not had something before and they see it here, and maybe they don't even try it, but they see it. Like today we had local beets on the salad bar. So the kids aren't taking them, but you know what? They're looking at them. And then maybe tomorrow they'll try one. And then maybe next year when they go away to college, they'll sit next to somebody that they don't know and they'll see beets somewhere and they'll say, you know what? I had these in high school, let's try them. So we're just trying to open their minds to different foods that maybe they haven't had before, or maybe they have had before, but in a different way, right? Another way that I'm trying to engage my staff is by giving them kind of a freedom to create. So I have a lot of retired moms, grandmas, moms whose kids go to school here that love to cook. So I want to give them that room to create. So I come in and I try to kind of, and I don't know if I do this, but I try to inspire. So I come in and I say, I had this idea how we could use local New York State potatoes. I saw like a vision right before I fell asleep, and I was smashing the potatoes with a hammer. And I made my husband go out and get a rubber mallet that we could wrap in plastic wrap, that we could smash these potatoes on the sheet pan and then put cheese on them and bake them. And I told the cook here, Hannah Hoteling, about that, and she took it, that idea, she took my vision and she ran with it, and she created our signature item, which is called New York Smashed Potato Nachos. So we do the potatoes on the bottom instead of chips, not fried, right? They're baked. So something healthy, something different, and unique. So this is their own, Hudson's district's own recipe that I have gifted to you. And I think that was the last slide. So that's about it. If you have any questions, though, I can answer any questions that you have, or if you have ideas of foods that you'd like to see. I always love new ideas.
I think this is a lovely presentation, and I'm not sure what the elementary school served today, but my neighbor's son liked it so much that he saved some in a chip bag and brought it to my house. So I'm going to say that whatever it was
nachos.
successful. He had scooted the meat into the chip bag and brought it home. It was very squished.
Don't
But
eat
he was
that.
he was very happy to eat the rest of it.
Great, that's awesome. Yeah, I love going over to the elementary school during lunch. I think that's what fills my soul, really. Just seeing the little kids and hearing them talk about food and seeing something for the first time is like, I never knew how rewarding this job was going to be until I saw that and felt that, and that's really like what keeps probably everybody coming back every day, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. I used to pack lunch every day and have only packed lunch a handful of times this year. So you're doing everything right, at least for my kid.
Well, please, everybody, if you could, request that your kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, cousins, whoever goes to school here, come in hungry. We're doing great things at breakfast. We're trying to cook fresh every day. We're trying to get a lot of the sugar out of the breakfast, so we're doing a lot more savory items for breakfast, eggs and things like that we're cooking to order or cooking, right off our line. So please inspire people, come for breakfast. That's where our real opportunity is right now for an increase, and that will just help the district, and it helps us bring better food.
I think it's just worth mentioning again, given the weighty topic that preceded you. The school lunch is all self-contained financially. The upgrades to the cafeteria were from school lunch funds, not from general funds or taxpayer dollars. I do saw on your list that it said there's a maximum retainage each year, and do we see a reduced rate if we don't spend that, or?
No, so what that actually says is that you can carry over 6 months of fund balance, and then if you, say we have like 7 months of what our fund balance, you usually get a letter from state ed notifying you that you have exceeded your fund balance,
Okay.
and they want to know what your plan is. How
Gotcha.
are you going to spend that down?
Okay.
And there's never a problem to spend it down. But we always want to make sure that we have some for a rainy day. And this is fun.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we have the facilities presentation.
Great job, Lisa. I think you got everybody ready for dinner. Okay. Good evening, folks. Tonight, we're going to learn about the district-wide improvement recommendations, which will include a capital project and an energy performance contract as well. Our bullet points here will be some building and grounds progress that we made in the last 3 years, some acknowledgements and some big thank yous, financial support, capital project upgrades and timelines, which has generated the scope of the work, and then finally the energy performance contract, the breakdown of how that will work. So in the last 3 years, we've remodeled a bunch of things, obviously. So the MCS gym, there was a bunch of pad replacements. You can see the photos there on the right-hand side was the before and after. There was a bunch of PM work done to the bleachers. The bleachers are the existing bleachers, but we did a lot of the hardware upgrades. All the module seats were all upgraded. That was within the budget at the time. All the acoustic tiles on the walls you can see there, along with being able to sand the entire floor down and add new logos and decals and things for the elementary kids. That project was roughly about $350,000. There was another upgrade to the gym here, which was the high school gym. We completely remodeled all the hoops that were in there. They were existing from the original building, which was 1970. We added wall pads, which we never had, to the north and south ends of the high school gym. Shot clocks that Mr. Briscoe begged for got into the project. That project was roughly about $100,000. Throughout the last couple of years, we've done a bunch of flooring upgrades. That included multiple classrooms within both schools. There's a conference room was added to that, and along with faculty rooms also in both schools. Athletics, we've been able to upgrade interior and exterior batting cages. That was one in the high school gym, one in the junior high gym, and then both out on the softball and baseball field for outdoors. Equipment within the facilities department has made a tremendous upgrade. We've upgraded some trucks. We've auctioned some trucks off. We've upgraded some. Multiple carts. Both salt spreaders are brand new. They're the poly kind, so they won't rust. Probably be within the district for 20 years. Multiple janitorial equipment, buffers, floor machines, things along that nature. Cameras have been an ongoing thing, right? As technology goes, we've started with the software, which you guys heard about with our last presentation with the smart schools. Of what we could afford at the time, which was a $20,000 project. There were some additions, some replacements. We're hopeful that the Smart Schools bond, which is the $1.7 million, will kind of, spearhead that entire project to get it up to snuff with the rest of the cameras for the district. HVAC, 97 wing. So 97 wing, it was the only wing within the district that did not have air conditioning. There was roughly about 20 classrooms along with the big areas, which was the main gym, the cafeteria, and the octagon room that sits off the back side of the gym. The district did go out for $1 million to the taxpayers at that time, but unfortunately with the material costs, we were only able to do 12 of the classrooms. So we ended up just calling that phase 1. We're hopeful with phase 2 to continue with the rest of the classrooms, and maybe add the cafeteria and the gym to it as well. That was a $1 million project. The cafeteria seating, which Lisa spoke about, was another project that facilities kind of helped and spearheaded. That was $450,000, which was all the seating and some signage and flags and things along with that. Electrical vehicle charging stations we now have at both schools. It's about $50,000. They're level 2s. They make 1, 2s, and 3s. Those are level 2s. And we have 6 ports at each school. Our employees have one rate where the public has a different rate as well. MCS sidewalks, we ended up installing a couple new sidewalks that were not pre-existing. One came out of the exit door of the gym and the elementary, the new small gym, and then we also added a sidewalk around the kindergarten playground. So facilities committee and acknowledgements, and really this is just, you know, a big thank you to a lot of the folks that are involved. So on the facilities committee is Dr. Pennyman, Willette Jones, Calvin Lewis, and Kirsten
Gustafson.
Okay, good. And my clerk Tabitha Brash. You know, these folks are on the committee and deal with me a lot. Obviously, the principals on the day-to-day, along with Mr. Briscoe in the athletic department, and really the buildings and grounds maintenance staff. You know, our team is really should deserve all the credit. They're the ones that are out there every day on the floor and you know, really make our department what it is today. Tonight you'll hear from some stakeholders within the district. Mr. Sharkey, who is the district architect, has been for a long time. He likes to say from, you know, when Tyler was in 8th grade. Mr. Jason Schwartz, who's a district financial partner from Bernie Dunnigan's office, who has been through multiple capital projects with the district, and along with Christine Shale, who is our bond counsel. She couldn't make it tonight. Justin Benoit, Michael Carson from Energia, who will talk to you about the energy performance contract, and then John Sanborn and Kieran Moran, who are going to be the vendors of the energy performance contract. We sent out the RFP and had four vendors come back, and Johnson Controls hopefully will be the ones that were selected for that. Okay, without further ado, I'd like to bring up Jason Schwartz to talk about the existing building debt and moving forward for the bond.
Thank you, Tyler. Good evening, everybody. I'm Jason Schwartz, president of Donegan Incorporated. We're the district's financial advisors. We've helped with many of your previous capital projects with the planning for and financing of those. So I have a couple slides tonight. You do have the full report from our office, a hard copy of that in front of you as well if you want to see any additional details, but we kind of just extracted kind of some of the key slides just for the high level conceptual of what we're talking about with this project from a financial perspective. So the first slide we have here is just an update on where your current capital piece of your budget stands, both in the current year and looking out into the future. So this is always a good starting point for where we start to kind of see, you know, what's coming on the horizon in terms of, you know, previous projects we've done. Is anything rolling off? You know, during the budget presentation a few minutes ago, it was mentioned really trying to maintain your debt service because that helps you keep an even budget and also helps keep your tax cap nice and consistent year to year instead of having, you know, spikes and valleys in that. So when we look at this, you can see at the bottom of the page list out all your prior projects that you still have outstanding debt on, and then as we look through there, in the middle of the page you see the debt service, and that's dropping off in 2030. You know, our building aid drops off as well, but not as much. So there's an opportunity there when we look at that far right-hand column that's shaded in blue. That's that local share of the piece of the tax levy that the local residents are picking up for our capital program. And we can see we have a drop off there in 2030 where we have an opportunity where some new project could come on if we have the needs and have a minimal to no tax impact on the local residents by just kind of replacing retiring debt with debt for new projects. So we look at that, and again, this is just kind of a visual look at that. So you see that black line going across the page is kind of where our current level is, and then we have those bars dropping off in 2030, so that gives us an opportunity to offset some of the costs of future capital needs. So what we started to look at is what does that drop-off look like in terms of a possible project that we could do with no tax increase. So again, on the left-hand side, they're just carrying forward from the prior slides our existing debt. And then what it essentially amounts to is an $8,345,000 capital project that we could do with no tax increase for the taxpayers. John will talk in a couple of minutes about the scope needs and how that kind of fits with that number. But basically, you would see under the green headings there would be the payback of that new proposed project if that were to pass this May. So we have some debt service, and then we get building aid back on that work that we do. We're assuming about 91% of the project would receive building aid back, and you as a district receive about 71% back from the state for any eligible costs. So that's a good chunk that helps offset a decent amount of that debt service. And then in column H there, you see that remaining local share. When we put that back together with your existing local share, stays nice and flat in that far right-hand column where the green highlighting is. So we stay right at the current levels of funding in our budget. Therefore, we don't need any additional new taxes. We're just replacing retiring debt with this project. And again, just visually, you can kind of see that here, that as we put it back together, if we were to do this $8,345,000 project that's being presented tonight and the scope items that we'll run through, we would be able to achieve that project with no additional taxes needed. So that is the very quick, high-level summary from the financials standpoint. Is there any other questions on that or the report itself before I turn it over to John to talk a little bit about the scope?
So if we did decide we wanted to have another capital project in the future, then that would affect the taxpayers and need to be funded from some tax dollars.
Right. There's for the foreseeable future after this, you would be at the kind of at your limit. There is some drop off, further out there. You see that you could plan for, and in the meantime, anything else you were looking at, you would either need to set aside some reserves to help pay for the local share of those projects, or look to a tax increase. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I will turn it over to John.
Good evening. So as Tyler mentioned, my name is John Sharkey with Rhinebeck Architecture, and I think he may well have been in 8th grade when we started back here in 1994. So Tyler had gotten in touch with us to talk about some potential capital project items that he wanted to look at, and that's when we got in touch with Jason to kind of get an idea of what a no tax impact project would be, and that kind of guided us into what we're doing along with your 2021 building condition survey. We took a look at that to see if there was any non-conforming or unsatisfactory items that we want to try to get into this project. So I'll just go through real quickly some of the...
Do you mind can you pull the mic up? I'm just looking
I'm
at
sorry.
people. I know sometimes there's volume issues
Okay.
here. So.
How's that? Better?
Thanks.
Okay. So we start out at the MC Smith School. We looked at a couple of small areas. There's some deteriorated sidewalks. We also looked at the tennis courts. The district had gotten some pricing from some companies to do recoding and like a resurfacing, and we got the numbers for that. But every recommendation was to basically redo the tennis courts to get into the sub base, because you could spend a lot of money over the years recoding the top, but to really do a good job, you really need to get down into the sub base and start over. So that's why the price there is at about $400,000. The attic floor, there's a few areas up there from previous construction and other things where there's some openings in the floor that should be more for fire safety and for personal safety. If you're walking through there in the dark, they should be filled in. Not a big item, but it was listed on the building condition survey. There's also 21 doors at the end of useful life on the outside of the building as you go around the building. So we actually got some hard numbers on that. Also reshingling the 1997 wing roofs, the sloped roof areas with the asphalt shingles. They're pretty much out of warranty right now and starting to experience some leaking, so it'd be good to get ahead of that. Again, some more interior fire doors and hardware throughout the building. There's several fire doors that are not functioning correctly and hardware that should be done. I know, again, that looks like a pretty high number, but we actually had someone go through, and the district did, to come up with that number. They went through every opening and made a pretty detailed list of what needs to be done. Also, there's steam boilers in the building that are beyond their useful life that should be replaced, so we're looking to do that, 3 sectionals. Emergency lights throughout the building, selected areas, some of them are good, some not so good. Tyler also requested that we add an emergency generator at that building. You have one here, but you don't have one over at the MC Smith School, so that'd be a great idea to get that done. Also, the renovation of 6 toilet rooms. Some of the toilet rooms are, need some work. There's some older ones that haven't been renovated in quite a while. Also, 1,000-gallon diesel and gasoline tank. The tanks you have right now are aging out. And then Tyler requested a modification upgrade to the salt shed for some additional storage there. It's kind of a tight spot, and they need room, some more room for equipment and additional salt storage. The next slide at the high school is a lot of the same issues, sidewalk repairs. There's an exterior wall at the cooling equipment that's put in. If you can see that photo there, when they put that equipment in, they pretty much damaged the wall there, and it's been been in disrepair for a while. It really needs to be replaced. You know, concrete cap put on, the brick put back to make it safe, so we included that. Again, some exterior doors, same as the MC Smith School. Infill of some glass in the corridors at the high school. There's a lot of vision glass there, so whether it gets infilled with drywall or some other safety film, we looked at that. Gymnasium acoustic panel replacements. The acoustic panels above the wall pads are in pretty bad shape, so we're looking to replace those. Old carpeting in the original building. Some of the carpeting is actually original to the building, so that really needs to be done. Interior doors, again. The swimming pool, excuse me, swimming pool and drainage to the pool, ceramic tile, ceiling and lighting could use an upgrade. A lot of the piping was done in a previous project up to the pool, but it was never addressed from that piping into the pool. And the district has experienced some leaking and some decay there, so we'd like to take care of that. Replacement of, renovate some more toilet rooms in this building. Replace seating here in the auditorium. As you can tell, when we stand up and sit down, you hear squeaking. The seats are getting old. Tyler's been doing a great job upkeeping these systems, but at some point, you know, you can't get parts, or you start to take apart other seats to get what you can use. We're also looking to sand and restripe the gymnasium floor, replace the classroom folding partitions at the high school. On the first and second floor, there's a series of, I think there was 21 folding partitions that are starting to fail. Again, tough to get parts, and it's making it difficult to have the flexibility between the classrooms. And then here, an exterior 24 by 40-foot storage building for athletic equipment and grounds equipment. There's just never enough room to store that. Some of the items, you know, eventually makes it into the building or into a courtyard somewhere where it's not really safe. It should be in a building, a separate building. So basically, the price for those two projects at the school, the construction cost comes out to $6,042,000. We've added an escalation cost of 5%. Usually we carry 2.5 to 3, but with the tariffs and things that are going on, and you know, with other countries, we wanted to be a little more conservative, so we bumped that up to 5% just to be on the safe side. That number could potentially go down. So the construction cost with that escalation is $6,344,100, and then the district has incidental costs on their end, which would be attorney's fees, special inspections, design fees, any expenses on the district's end for overseeing the project. And then DASNY and capitalized interest costs are in there so that the district can use that $605,000 so that the district can go to DASNY to borrow the money at a better rate. And then the capitalized interest, Jason could probably explain a lot better than me, but it's part of the financing so that the upfront costs are covered in the project. That may or not have to be used. It's all dependent on where the bond market is and where the financials are at the time of award of contract, whether we're going to use it or not, but it's good to have it in there in case you do need to use it. So that brings the total cost up to $8,345,000, which is the amount that Jason's office came up with for a no tax impact to the project. I believe these numbers are conservative because that's we've always done it. If there's the ability to not spend all of that, you can do that, or you could do a little bit more in the project, expand it a little bit. But I think we're in pretty good shape for the numbers we have. Any questions or comments?
I have a wild card question, and this is not something I'm suggesting. It's a frame of reference. If the district sat down and said they wanted to rebuild the high school today, what scale are we talking about?
This high school?
Yeah.
Schools right now are going, well, back in the day, they were $300 a square foot. You're looking at more like $500 a square foot now to do a building, so.
Yeah.
400,000 square feet
Okay.
times $500 a square foot, that's a
Yeah.
lot of money. Yeah, and the way aid ratios are going and SED approvals, I sincerely doubt they would go for a new building in this economy and climate.
Just frame of reference.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I would love for you to do a new school, but it's super expensive, yes. Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Just to refer to what John said, this scope comes from our building condition survey, which is generated, we stay in compliance with SED. We have to do that every 5 years. That's where, you know, they architects come in, which was actually not John's firm, it was a different firm. They come in and they generate this scope for us. You know, we just pull the numbers and generate everything after that. The next slide was just some more things on the scope and some photos for you guys to look at. Oh, John, you want to talk about the timeline? Yeah. Timeline is very important if you guys do continue to go along with the capital project.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about the timeline. So in order to have a vote in May 20th, you would need to take a couple of actions at your next board meeting, which is March 25th. And the first thing the board would need to do is approve the seeker, the State Environmental Quality Review, which is basically, if you've done it before, this work is a type 2 action. There's no impact on anything, so it's pretty straightforward. But that does have to be done first. You can do the seeker and the board resolution to go to a vote the same night, but the seeker has to be done first. That's the process that SED requires. So we would be looking for at your next board meeting, and I'm not sure it's been shared with you yet or not, but your attorneys have drafted the seekers and the resolutions for everybody to look at. So at the next board meeting, they would be to be acted on if you decide to go forward with the project. Once you would do that on the 25th, then there would be whatever meetings you would like us to attend or anybody to attend to talk about the projects. Vote day to be May 20th. Construction documents and specifications, you could basically start the next day, but you wouldn't see any real construction until the following summer. And we're anticipating with this amount of work, it would probably be done over 2 summers because it's hard to get that much work done in 1 summer. So, and again, we have the project budget there, but yeah, if you decide to go for a vote, construction, you wouldn't see any construction until the summer of 2026. Okay. Yes.
So the seeker is separate from the actual plan? Is it something that needs to happen before it or happens at the same time? Or?
It can happen the same night.
Okay.
So the seeker is just a written document that describes that the project's been reviewed, there's no adverse environmental effects or anything, and you just have to accept that the same night. And then once that's done, then you can do the resolution to go to a vote.
Gotcha.
And
And once we make a resolution to vote, can there be any changes to the items that are within the capital plan?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, you can change, yeah. As long as if the things are listed, you can't really add scope that's not defined in the capital project plan, but if there's similar items, you can make changes, yeah. Or you can decide not to do some of the scope. That's absolutely the district's priority. We also typically in a project will put in alternates so that you can see what each thing costs, and then when the bids come in from the contractors, you can say, yeah, we changed our mind, we don't want to do, for instance, the auditorium seating, you know what it's worth, you can decide whether it's in or out, so there'd be a lot of opportunity to make changes.
Gotcha, that's helpful.
Yep.
And this says March 25th is the latest date that we could vote on this?
Yes, because it has to be 45 days before the vote date.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's a legal requirement, minimum 45 days.
So it goes in the legal notice for the budget vote
Right,
as
right,
part of the propositions.
right. But some things we need 30 days, but it sounds like this is 45. Okay.
Yeah, it's 45, yes.
Great,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Can I just make a request then before the next meeting that these things that are ready for us, can we have them sent out sooner than when we get some of the other board updates, just so we have more time to dig through?
Yeah. Yes.
With that said, if you guys need to meet, and I told Leslie and Dr. Penning this as well, if you want to meet next week and have another facilities meeting, we're willing to do that as well. Some of the folks that traveled far will just be virtual. Okay, so that's the bond part of the recommendations that we're looking to upgrade the district-wide. The next piece is the energy performance contract, which Justin and John will talk about here. And a lot of districts today are running the energy performance contract alongside a bond, so that if something is not able to go within the bond or the vice versa with the energy contract, they can pick it up. Okay.
All right. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Justin Benoit. I am the Director of Project Delivery for Energia. And tonight I'm joined by John and Kieran from Johnson Controls. I'll let them introduce themselves in a moment. But we're here tonight to talk to you about the energy performance contract opportunity that we've been working on with the district, let you know what that entails. Again, I'll introduce Johnson in a moment, and they'll get into more of the specifics as far as the scope and financials of the project as well. Definitely, if there's any questions, you can please feel free to stop any of us at any time. Firstly, just wanted to start out with a quick introduction to who we are at Energia. We specialize, I guess I'll say, we are a energy engineering and energy consulting firm. We specialize in working with school districts on energy-related projects, mostly done through this energy performance contracting model, which again, I'll explain more about that in a moment. But we've done over 140 projects. We're based on Long Island, and so the large majority of our projects have been with New York schools. And really, we serve as I'll say a third-party engineer, as far as from a consultancy perspective, helping to develop the project and make sure that it's in the district's best interests. And then we also serve as the engineer of record, and so we would be responsible for developing the design plans and specifications, submitting those to SED for approval, and being involved in that whole process. So to explain a little bit about what energy performance contracting is for anybody that may not be familiar, essentially I think the easiest way that I could describe it is that it is a facility improvement project, right? It is a construction project, but the key aspect of these projects is that they are laser focused on driving energy efficiency improvements within the buildings. And then by doing so, you're able to generate energy savings, of course, by, again, implementing improvements that increase energy efficiency. It drives energy savings on your existing utility budget. And then with those savings, you're able to use those savings as the funding source for the project itself. And so, again, I think as much as it is a construction project, it is almost a alternative funding mechanism that districts can leverage because it lets you get needed work done while using the energy savings as the funding source for that work itself. A couple key things to note with that. One is that the energy savings are guaranteed to you. And so after the project, there's a process known as measurement verification where we go out and measure and verify that the energy savings that were guaranteed to you actually came to fruition. And if they did not, you will be made whole for that difference. Again, that's really critical because if you want to use the energy savings as the funding source for the project, you can't have a shortfall of savings and be left on the hook for that shortfall. These projects are also fixed price. There's no change orders. Again, because of the nature of the energy savings being the funding source for the project. And really, it's a nice way to, as Tyler alluded, really expand any of your ongoing activities or efforts towards facility improvements by extending the value of those dollars by doing some work maybe through a capital project with the community support and doing other work that maybe wouldn't fit into a project like that at this time through this self-funding, energy-focused initiative. And so again, my two colleagues here will get into some of the scope of work, but we really did try to align what we targeted as part of the energy project here with what you already had identified in your building condition survey and what kind of conversations were going on around a potential capital project in the future. This graphic here, I won't spend too much time on it, but I think it paints kind of a nice picture, maybe a simplistic picture of how an energy performance contract works. Ultimately, you could see in the left-hand column, that would be the district's current energy budget. And so that's what you're spending today. That's what you will ultimately be spending for the foreseeable future, of course, with some unfortunate utility cost increases that are inevitable. And so with the project, that middle column there, again, we're able to target energy efficient improvements that reduce your energy budget, resulting in that new energy budget there in the middle. And then with the difference between your current energy budget versus what that new energy budget will be, that of course is the energy savings, and a portion of those energy savings will go towards the debt service payments for the project, and then additional, or I should say any additional funds or savings come back to the district really in the form of net positive cash flow. And so there's a couple of reasons why these projects are actually net positive for school districts in most cases, and in this case as well. One is that, again, the energy savings have to cover the entirety of the cost of the project. So if there's any excess savings, if there's any excess rebates as well, all of that comes back to you as kind of additional monies over the project term. The other point to make, and I'll touch on a little bit more in the next slide, these projects are also eligible for state aid. So just like on your capital project where you would get state aid for doing that work, on an energy performance contract, you also get state aid. Again, with energy savings covering the cost of the upgrades, a lot of that state aid is really excess monies that, again, comes back to you. And then really this right-hand column there is showing after the program, or really what it is showing is after the debt service payments have been satisfied. Those upgrades remain in place. They continue to help drive energy savings by being, energy efficient equipment that will remain in the buildings. And then you no longer have any debt service payment. And so all of that savings is really more, maybe think of it like cost avoidance of what your utility costs would be if you hadn't made those energy efficient improvements. So with that, maybe just to pause for a second if there's any questions on performance contracting itself. Perfect. All right, now to touch on some activity to date and next steps before I pass it over here. Really the first step that we took even before what's shown on the screen here, Energy worked with the district to perform what I'll call an energy financial assessment. Really, we looked at your utility bills, we looked at some of the needs that were identified as part of your capital plans, and came back to you with an estimate of what we felt like a potential energy performance contract opportunity might look like. One, from an energy savings potential, but two, from a potential scope funding ability of the project. That ultimately led us to moving forward with issuance of an RFP. We issued that to various energy services companies to get different performance contracting proposals that are site-specific, I'll note. And so multiple vendors came in and did comprehensive site visits across all of the facilities to identify the upgrades that were included in their responses. And so we did receive 4 proposals in response to that RFP. Their names are listed here: Amoresco Energy Systems Group, Honeywell, and Johnson Controls. After that point, Energia did a thorough evaluation of each of the proposals. We conducted interviews with each of the respondents along with district stakeholders. And ultimately, that brings us to this evening. Again, we wanted to attend to kind of update everyone on this process, talk about the next steps. Again, introduce Johnson Controls here to talk more about the scope and financials of the project. But ultimately, similar to the capital project, we would have a couple of resolutions that we would be seeking approval of at the next board meeting on the 25th. So the first one would be a resolution to appoint Johnson ultimately as the winner of the RFP contest. So there's no contract execution or anything at this stage. Really, the resolution will allow them to move forward with what we call the comprehensive energy audit. And so that audit will really entail a process where now we're able to work closely with the district, Energy, and Johnson to finalize the scope of work that they proposed in the RFP. And so what they proposed was certainly their best shot at what they thought was a good fit for the district. Now we have that opportunity to mold that scope of work and really create the project that you want to see done within your schools. And so that'll be that next step. It's at no cost or obligation to the district still. Ultimately, after that auditing process, we will come back to the board seeking approval of the contract based, again, on that final project. The other 2 resolutions one of which is a secret resolution, again, similar to the capital project. The project is projected to have no environmental impact, and so it's a fairly straightforward secret type 2 resolution. The reason why we are seeking the secret resolution is because on an energy performance contract, or really on any project, what you receive as your state aid reimbursement is actually 10% more than what your base state aid ratio is. And the reason for that is when you seek voter approval, they give you an added bonus for doing so. So on an energy performance contract, there is no voter approval that's required. But if you don't go out for voter approval, your state aid ratio is 10% less than what you may expect it to be. And so in this case, we're suggesting, given the timing, given the fact that you may be considering a vote on a capital project as well, if you'd like, we would certainly support you in going out for a vote on the energy performance contract as well, really with the only benefit being that you can get an additional 10% of state aid from the state. And so that secret resolution would be tied directly to that, what I call the voter proposition resolution as well. Again, up for your consideration. It's not required to vote on these projects, but again, it is a little bit of an added financial benefit if you would like to do so. And so if there's no questions here, I'm going to introduce John Sanborn and Kieran Moran from Johnson Controls. They'll get into more of the specifics again about the scope and financials here.
Here's just one question. Sure. This has nothing to do with the capital project other than it's being voted on at the same time.
Correct. Again, we would look to complement the capital project with what we include in the energy project, but they are two separate initiatives, yes.
So it's feasible one could pass, one could fail, and they have nothing to do with each other.
Correct. It would be two separate, most likely two separate voter propositions is what most districts would do there.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm John Sanborn from Johnson Controls, and I'm here with my colleague, Kieran Moran. And so we, first off, thanks for the opportunity to meet you all and to present tonight. So we just I'd like to go through a few of the highlights from our RFP response. So I'm John, and this is my colleague Kieran, and we're two account execs for Johnson Controls. We have a whole team behind us in terms of construction management, energy engineering, and then measurement and verification to bring an energy performance contract really from start to finish. And so we've had the opportunity to visit your facilities, as Justin had mentioned, in the fall, and we have pulled together sort of what we've observed so far and our recommended solutions. Again, once we get into the comprehensive energy audit, we can really refine those solutions to best meet the district's need, and really put together a project that everyone sees fit. So what our observations were during our time on site was that really specifically, well, in both buildings, but really here in the junior senior high school, you have an aging heating system in need of replacement. It's a boiler room that I think is original to the original building, and so in order to replace a boiler room, it usually requires a large capital intensive type of project, and so with energy performance contracts, we always try to figure out a way how we can fund those big boiler room type improvements, seeking energy savings in other areas. And so, but what we found was you also have out back of your athletic field a large solar, ground mount solar array that's been installed for a number of years now. But there's a unique opportunity that you have to leverage that existing asset. That asset is not district owned. It's owned by a third party under what's known as a PPA agreement. And the timing of that PPA agreement that you have, there's a unique opportunity to buy that, using the energy performance contract to buy that PPA out and that would eliminate any obligation by the district to pay the third-party lease that is currently owns that system. And it also provides funding back into the funding stream back into the project to help fund these energy improvements that are needed, such as your aging heating system. So I'll talk about that. There are various other improvements that we are looking to incorporate as well, such as domestic hot water heater replacements at your elementary school, some rooftop replacement here as well. A lot of your school district has LED lights, but not all of the district, and so we'd be replacing the remaining lighting in the district with the most efficient LED lights. And there is also an opportunity to expand upon your solar PV system at the elementary school.
All right, we thought we'd give you another slide of numbers because you haven't seen enough tonight. This is an overview of the project. So it is an $8 million project. Ironically, it's similar to the size of the capital project that you saw tonight. But specific to performance contracts, they have to pay for themselves in an 18-year term. That is SED law, and so we are just under the 18 years, as you can see, at 17.98 years. We have a positive cash flow, which I'll show you on the next slide, which is important to the district, that the energy savings plus the building aid that will come back to the school through this project will generate a positive cash flow. So a little different than a bond project in that regard, but certainly important to the school over the next 15 years. We will see district annual savings of about just over $400,000. These are guaranteed to you from Johnson Controls contractually. So if you are to not hit that number, Johnson Controls has to write you what we call a shortfall check to get you whole to that $400,000. So unique in that it's different than a bond project. And then obviously it qualifies for your building aid rate at 58.5, and then you're going to hopefully elect to do a second proposition to get an additional 10% on your aid. Rebates, obviously a lot of the work that we're going to do is rebatable through your utilities, and those rebates come back to the district directly. So $390,000 back to the district. Again, unique in that we have to guarantee those rebates to you. Even though they're not coming from us and they're coming from the utility, the state education department requires the ESCO to guarantee that $390. So should the utility change the rebate program, make it less, as that has happened lately, Johnson Controls is on the hook for that balance. So again, required by the state education department. We have some Inflation Reduction Act monies that will also flow back to the school district. A NYSERDA Flex Tech, again, money's coming back, and then a national grid rebate of $81,000. So there are some other streams outside of the energy savings and the building aid that benefit this job and make it attractive to Hudson. Okay, next slide. How do I do that? What do I do? Enter? Oh, spacebar? Oh, sorry. Oh, great. Okay.
So I'll talk a little bit about your the opportunity that exists to buy out your solar PPA agreement that is a current asset on the property here. And so this slide here demonstrates what that termination payment amount looks like and what year you're in. Currently, you're in year 8 of that agreement. But as you can see, the asset is worth roughly $4.5 million, and it's been depreciated in a way that you have a buyout clause in that agreement. We'd be looking to purchase it in 2026 for a heavily discounted purchase price of just over $1.1 million. So it's a heavily discounted buyout clause, and by doing so, you would eliminate that $130 in 2026, $139,000 a year payment that you're making currently on that lease. So that payment would then go away. So going forward, and there are plenty of years left of life on this system, you would then receive 100% of the renewable energy that it's producing. And so being able to kind of leverage this opportunity will allow you to put more funding back into the project to get other work done. And by other work, here's a couple of pictures of your boiler room here at the junior senior high school. And so we're looking to essentially do a full gut renovation replacement of that heating system. It's an old steam heating system. that some of the parts and pieces are failing, and there's opportunity to convert that system into a much more energy efficient system. I mentioned some potential for additional rooftop solar, so we evaluated some newer sections of roof at your elementary school. When we get into the comprehensive energy audit, we will go into a structural analysis to determine, to make sure that these areas are good candidates to continue to expand upon the solar system.
And then, in an interest of time, we put all the other measures together for you. Our response to the bid was 3 inches thick, so we're not going to go through that. These are all the other energy conservation measures that we identified. Over the next 2 months, when we go through the comprehensive energy audit, we will fine-tune these, maybe add some more, delete some as we work through some of the bond scope items that you might want us to include or not include as we analyze this. But these do drive $150,000 in annual energy savings, so important to the project. Yet another slide of numbers. So when we look at this financially in terms of a cash flow, we tried to set this up in year one. You would have a tax-exempt lease payment of just under $700,000. That's over a 15-year term, which Bernie Donegan's office will help you run the RFP for that to secure those funds when the time is necessary. We ran this cash flow at a 4.25% interest rate. Hopefully rates continue to drop. And so by the time you go to borrow this money, you get a better interest rate than that. You can see that we have a 58.5% NICET aid estimation, your energy savings at $294, solar PPA buyout, and you can see as you flow down all the way through that first year at the bottom, the net cash flow positive back to the district is $423,000 positive back to the school in year one. And then when you look at it over the life of this project, the full 18-year term, you can see that at the bottom, almost $3 million over 18 years flow back by doing all of these improvements and reducing your energy consumption. Okay. Oh, sorry. And then we did notice when we were here for our study and the bid that you do have some STEM programs running district-wide. And so we found that very interesting as we are trying to implement at some of our other clients and schools STEM programs. So we like to teach the kids about energy efficiency. And so we have a program that's the K through 3 level. So we can certainly work with the district. We'd love to offer that as part of this, just to teach the kids about what we're doing and the environment. And so we find that important. But we saw the big STEM plus boxes, so you might be doing a wonderful job of that already. So, and anyway, kudos to you. And then the timeline, our last slide.
So thanks, Karen. A lot of dates here, but I think it's similar to the capital project that we'd really look to. A lot of activity has to happen to get us to construction, and one is just to commence on the comprehensive energy audit, which Justin alluded to. Once the board selects Johnson Controls as their energy performance contractor, then we can get started on the comprehensive energy audit. And after a few months of doing that detailed engineering and scoping and costing, we bring back a formal energy performance contract for the board to approve. Here we have it later this summer. But then after that, it goes through NICET design and approval and financing, and we really would look to get started on construction really the summer of 2026, which I believe complements the capital project as well. I believe that was around the same timeline. So certainly some coordination will take place, and those timelines look to work rather nicely together. I think that's all we have. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
So I'm going to try and, after you can hear me, I'm going to try and explain this in the simplest terms of how I currently understand it. But you're going to take the money that we currently spend on energy, and out of that same pool of money, you're going to carve out ways for us to be more efficient with our energy, which is how you guys make money and how we get money back from the state. So there's no extra cost involved with the contract. outside of what we annually pay on energy so far.
Correct.
Okay.
By state law, the project has to be self-funded out of the energy savings. Correct.
Okay.
And just for clarity, in terms of the budget vote, I thought a second ago, and apologies if my brain is just tired at this point, we had talked about that like these would be two separate votes, but what I'm seeing here
They'd be
is
on the
that
same day.
Okay, so in this project timeline, we just don't have the vote on the timeline.
It's all on the same ballot.
Check. Just checking my understanding of the timeline, that like one step in this project timeline is like
Yeah.
board approval of putting this on the ballot, and then the ballot itself
Yes.
happening in May.
Yes. Yep.
But the commencement of the audits would start in April, even though it's not voted on until May.
So that's a good question.
Yep.
Okay.
So, there'll be 3 props, right? Your regular school board prop, or your vote, which is what Dr. Pennyman gave to you tonight. Number 2 would be the bond, which would be the $8.3 million. And then the third prop, which is a separate prop, would be to go to the taxpayers to ask for the 10% extra, which would bring us to 68% of state aid. Those would be the 3 props on vote day to the taxpayers, right? What they're asking for today is or next board meeting, right, is just a resolution to continue, which is no cost, no obligation to the EPC, which allows them to do and come in and just do a deeper audit and generate that contract, which you'll sign possibly in June.
And if we want to put it on the ballot, this one has to be acted by,
Next board meeting.
okay,
Right,
that's
you'll
when we
do
have to
the
choose to
seeker
put it on the
and-
ballot.
Yeah,
Got
you
it,
do the
okay.
seeker, then the resolution. It's kind of like putting the buggy before the horse. You got to do the seeker first, then the resolution. And it's the same thing, one for the bond, one for the EPC.
But just to reiterate, approving the EPC does not change budget because it's self-funded.
That's correct. Currently, right now, we spend $700,000 on an annual basis for our national grid. And we would take, as these construction things happen, that number's gonna drop down drastically, right? Because you're putting in more energy efficient things. So then you would take that funding and pay the debt of the bond that you take out for the EPC. Did I say that right? I've had 100 questions myself on this process.
I don't know. It seems like a great program. Yeah, I think what I'm struggling with a little bit, and like Amanda voiced, is that it's a lot to take in the capital project and this, and to be told we only have 2 weeks to make up our minds on whether or not we want to do it or give input on how these projects are coming together.
Yep.
So I'm not pointing fingers or assigning blame or anything, but it's
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long process. We've had a bunch of turnover in the business department. You know, obviously currently I'll have my 8th boss in 3 years,
Yeah.
next week.
Yeah.
So it's been hard to do that kind of things, but, you know, I've been trying to just push forward and get the capital stuff done so that, you know, we can continue to
Yeah,
thrive here.
of course, of course. I'm happy to see your equipment shed in there too.
All the equipment's sitting out
You know, regarding the PPA, I guess, as it stands, what happens in 2035 when this table ends? Do we own the solar panels?
So we own it as soon as so if we take the EPC and you take that bond out for that, you make the $1.1 million, you buy out what we currently have out there, which is worth $4 million when they put it in. And then that allows us not to make that $130,000 payment, which we are making right now.
Right.
currently, right?
But I guess just if status quo, so
Yeah.
if we don't do anything with this, what happens to the panels in 2035?
So we keep making the payment.
Okay.
And after 2035, I believe we own it.
No, so the agreement is actually it's changed over a couple of times based on the solar providers changing, but currently it's with Tesla, and so at the end of that term, you would ultimately have the option to extend that for, I believe, up to 3 5-year terms. But if you didn't extend it, Tesla technically would still own the system. They would come and remove the system.
Yeah.
But you can extend it, and the only thing is with that, you would still continue to to pay them for that system.
Okay.
In this route, you own it immediately and own it through,
Okay.
you know, the foreseeable future.
Have we verified the production at this point? Are these numbers like current, or is this from the original deal?
Yeah, so, John, you can speak to this more if you want, but we have kind of a combination of sources. So one, these values were being guaranteed to you by Tesla. Also, they're represented on your utility bills, which we do have.
Okay.
So I would say yes. Again, during this audit, there is more due diligence that we're going to do as well.
Okay.
And just to go back to the question about the scope and understanding that there's only a couple of weeks to ultimately decide if you wanted to go out for the voter proposition, this next phase, again, is really, the whole purpose is for us to adjust the scope. And so the voter proposition language that we actually have shared already, and I believe your bond counsel may be reviewing actively, is very, I'll say liberal. It does allow for flexibility and changes. The only limitation is that we did put a not to exceed value, just so that the taxpayers understand, you know, this is the max volume of a project or the max value of state aid that we would be expecting that 10% to equate to. Outside of that, you have full flexibility to change anything within the scope. And again, that's really what this next CEA audit phase is all about.
When you say there's another 10% by putting it out to the proposition,
Correct.
what number is that? What's the quantity of that?
Forgive me going through your slides, John. You could see, yeah, so the NICEAD aid right here is about $305,000. So that's based on the 58.5%.
Okay.
So it would be now based on the 68.5%, so about 10% more than
About 350 or something, yeah, okay.
And that's year over year, I would note, which
Okay.
State aid's amortized over 15 years. So the total over the 15 years is a little bit greater.
All right. Thank you very much, guys.
Yes,
Thank you. Now we have the student representative report.
Hello, my name is Salima Hoppani. Today I'm going to be subbing in for Tom Zerbinski. I'm the Vice President of the Student Council here at Hudson. So the first thing that we have is the Annie musical, and that's going to be occurring from March 21st to the 23rd. And then the varsity club I think they just had their go to the court tournament. It just ended like 2 hours ago. And then we have dodgeball tournament coming the end of this week. Badminton during lunch, and the tournament finals end tomorrow. Mock trial, there are going to be 4 competitions, and there's also going to be a Model UN at Bard on March 29th. And then the NHS is fundraising by selling carousel cakes, and the class of 2026 is fundraising through Brooks Barbecue. And then lastly, the spring sports start next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And Brooks Barbecue is Friday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Field trip presentations.
Hi, I'm Fong Pedestrian. I'm the ENL teacher at the high school. I present to you the Field Trip for Elves. It's offering for 9th grade to 12th graders to the Bronx Zoo on April 30th from 8 o'clock to 8 at night. It's a free field trip, so it's on a Wednesday, and new opportunity for low-income students. So it's offered for all the elves from 9 to 12th graders. Build relationship and community within the schools. Real life experience for our elves. Support life science biology, like they're learning species, habitat, animal interact with ecosystem, unique organism, animal behaviors, and genetics. Encourage parental involvement. So for elves parents, they tend not to come to school activities because of their language barrier. So I will give them opportunity to be a chaperone. And my elves never been to the zoo before. The only trip that they ever went comes to America. So this will be a great opportunity for elves to get to see the Bronx Zoo, practicing reading, writing, speaking, and listening to English. And the post-trip assignment will be written and an oral report on the field trip experience. I did this 2 years ago in Schenectady. I was a team of, in the E&L team, and all the students loved it. That's it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How many students do you expect to go?
So I have about under 60.
Okay.
So but I don't think all of them will go. So maybe under 50.
Great. Sounds like a great trip. Thank you for putting it together.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mariah. I'm the vice president of our class officers.
And I'm the secretary.
And we're just here to talk about our prom and senior trip. Okay, so our prom's gonna be taking place at the Falls. It's at Greenport. The theme is Old Hollywood Glamour. Our prom walk before the prom is gonna be at the waterfront at 5 o'clock. And dinner is provided by What's Really Good Catering. Our prom tickets are $25. Our music's by DJ Var. And our photos are gonna be taken by Dorian Lenz.
And our senior trip is going to be happening June 9th, 2025, and it's going to be at Coney Island, aka Luna Park.
What's included? All day round passes, trips, transportation to our destination, a Yankee Trail by the Yankee Trails bus, access to all rides. Students must pay $10 for 3 additional rides. The Slingshot, Electric, Eden Raceway, the Sky Chaser. Each student will get a wristband for the rides. Boardwalk, aquarium, and beach. Nearby restaurants like Nathan's, White Castles, and more will be provided. Bag lunch will be provided just in case. 6 chaperones.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, do you know how many students are going to go on this trip?
We estimated around like 56, but it could be more or less. And if there is more, we're going to have to just rent out another bus.
Okay. And while they're there, the students can go anywhere they want on Coney Island, or is there like an area that they have to stay to, contain to? Or?
Well, that's like, yes, but also to like, there's always limitations. So, you know, their chaperones will be supervising them at all times. And we're also going to have a time where we all meet up so we can go home.
This might be more of a for the district staff question, but I feel like my school law classes put the fear of everything in me about trips where kids go to the ocean. Is there any concern around like swimming in ocean, and has that been addressed?
No, no one's going swimming. It's more like for the amusement rides, and that's pretty much all it is.
I've had some bad experiences with field trips there and safety.
Yeah.
Are there any more questions? All right, thank you so much.
No, thank you.
No need for an early executive session. I did that. Okay. Personnel agenda. I make a motion to approve personnel agendas item A1 through 4 and items B1 to 5.
Second.
All in favor? No staff. Okay, public forum.
Nobody.
Nobody, thank you. Superintendent's update.
Okay, so for tonight's superintendent's update, I'd like to start off with the Spotlight on Excellence. And as I call what the Spotlight on Excellence is, it's a recognition given to any staff member that may be caught doing something excellent. So tonight, I have the following staff and faculty and staff members. I have Michelle Nowak. And Ms. Nowak is not here tonight, but she's receiving this. She wrote grants for the greenhouse that's in her classroom. As you hear, she's growing cilantro and other herbs that have been used. And her students are really, have been down to her classroom to see her students participating in this. Today they yesterday I went down there, they were talking about possibly trim the cilantro and the herbs, and now I think it's a great thing that they're sharing the herbs with our cafeteria, so that's great. The next staff member I have is Austin Ellsworth. Austin is here. Austin is receiving the spotlight on excellence because Austin is pretty much the go-to guy in technology. Every time there's an issue, or even when we have grants that we're writing, interacting with the Verizon Innovative team, et cetera, Austin is always the first name that I know Cheryl calls when we need something. So I just wanted to spotlight all the work that you're doing in technology and to give you a Spotlight on Excellence Award. And so for all of the teachers and staff that are here tonight, once I'm through calling everyone's name, you can come up front and we'll get a group picture with the board. Justin Cookerstein. Mr. Cookerstein is not only a teacher in the classroom, but he's also with some other teachers I know, and I'm going to get around to giving them an award. They're now going to expose our students to go to a trip to Europe this summer. I believe they're going to Italy.
France, Switzerland, and Germany.
All right, so there you go. So just being able to do that, and I know it takes a lot of extra hours to put into plan these trips, their fundraising, et cetera, and I thought that it was worth spotlighting him for just getting that done. He started talking to me about it when I first got here. So, you're welcome. Now, this spotlight on excellence, I'm beginning with one custodian. All of our custodians will eventually get a spotlight on excellence. However, I'd like to give this spotlight on excellence to our custodian, Paul Monroe. So this is one of our custodians who really goes above and beyond, and he cleans my office, and it's not that I'm a high maintenance superintendent. However, he comes into my office a lot, and someone's always there, so he always has to come back to clean or just going above, and beyond. He's there at the soccer games. I see him celebrating and just really supporting our students. Mr. Monroe. And then we have Joe Bonifilio. Joe is another example of one of our great custodian crew. There were nights when we were here late. Joe makes sure that we're safe walking out the door. He'll say, Dr. Penman, I'm gonna make sure I walk you out. You stay there, I'll watch you go out. Just goes above and beyond, always has a great attitude, always saying, can I help with this, can I help with that? And we're gonna miss you on the evening shift, but I'll see you on the day shift. But so Joe's now moving on to the day shift, so I just wanna say thank you.
Thank you.
Tracy Simmons. Miss Simmons is one of our teacher's aide in Miss Schmidt's class, and if anyone knows about those students and how well they're doing, and I gave Miss Schmidt an award the last time, but as we all know, it takes a team to get it done, and I wanted to make sure that I was also recognizing the aides in the classroom. Miss Simmons, thank you for going above and beyond for your students. Yeah, I'm also giving Miss Fatima an award, and what I usually do is bring them around and then get their picture, but if you just wait to have your picture, I'll give it to them. I bring them to the classrooms. Miss Kayani Isles, Miss Isles here. So I can tell you something about Miss Isles. She's another teacher that goes above and beyond. I walk around her classroom, her lunch period, students, I hardly see her take a duty-free lunch. There's always students in her classroom where she's lending them that extra help, that extra support. And the students have built great relationships with Miss Isles. They talk about her all the time, but talk about another teacher that goes above and beyond for our students. I've seen that in her, and I just wanted to spotlight her for that. Miss Sullivan, Shannon Sullivan. I just want to thank Ms. Sullivan for the great work she's doing above and beyond all the time she spends with our Model UN students. And she's really put Hudson, on the map with the Model UN. And I just like the fact that we collaborate with Ichabod Crane and other school districts where our students are getting to build relationships with the students around Columbia County. And so I just wanted to give you a spotlight for all the work you've been doing over the years with Model UN. You're welcome. Ms. Abitabel, Megan Abitabel. Ms. Abitabel also is getting an award for helping to plan that great European trip. When I first got here, Mr. Kuckerstein was right in my office, and I can't believe it's almost here, right? So they've been doing a great job planning and just exposing, our students. And so I just wanted to thank you. And the next award goes to Ms. Patch. This was from the last time. Mary Patch. For going above and beyond and helping us to get those teacher certifications together and aid certifications, and just you're so active as an assistant. So you're always there, you're on the teams, you're in the PD teams, you're in the literacy, just whatever. So thank you for always lending your voice and going above and beyond. And Anthony Markham, or as we call him, Tony. This spotlight on excellence goes to Tony. You talk about a person who is quiet, but a very positive person to have in central office. Tony can always spot some days when some of us are having rough days, and he'll always have that encouraging word. Or if we send something out, he'll make it a point to send you a nice note back to say thank you. And those are the things that matter. And he's also doing a great job with his everyday position of working with our out-of-district placement students, etc. However, when I see a great attitude, I think that I need to recognize it. So thank you. And those are all the spotlight on excellence for this week. If all of the staff and faculty whose names were called would just come down. I don't want us to take a picture by the trash can. So if you come to the front here, so we can get a photo with the board. Yes. Bring your award. Oh, I'm sorry. So here's just some out and about in the community that I've done. So what I do is when there's someone not here, I find them in the building with their class, whatever, and I give them their spotlight on excellence. So I did some of that last week. I attended the MBK Stand and Deliver workshops. I also joined the New York Council of School Federal Legislature Advocacy, and then I attended the Small City School Superintendent's Conference meeting in Albany on a Sunday. And then I visited MCSCS. I went to pre-K kindergarten, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, and Mr. Winnick's art class on yesterday. The newsletter is now available, so please read our February newsletter. Some reminders: kindergarten screening, April 15th, 16th, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the elementary school. Pre-kindergarten applications are now open, and spring sports registration is now open. And now I will have the department reports. And the first person is Ms. Rabinowitz from Instructional Technology.
Thank you, Dr. Penniman. Good evening, everybody. Last month I spoke about Cyber NUT, which is our cybersecurity awareness program. I just wanted to provide an update. And for those who may not know, it replaces our current program that we used to use called KnowBe4. And this program focuses on two phases. One was the phase where all the staff received onboarding training, and then they were able to participate, watch a video. And then once they did that, and that ended on March 5th, then on March 6th, they started the actual training. And what the training involves is they send them phishing simulations. And so that's been going on. And just to give you some data in regard to what's happening, and we just rolled it out on Thursday, in the campaign, we've already had 130% of links clicked on that were just phishing campaigns that people thought maybe were real. And that's not, we want to build everybody's muscle so that they really get to understand what to watch for. It's not a getcha. We could see, I could see behind the scenes with the data, but again, it's just helping everyone become more aware. And it's also in a gaming atmosphere, like people get on the leaderboard and they've been showing me like, oh, I'm number 1 or I'm number 5, those who want to participate in that. But it really does a lot for making people aware. In the program itself, there's a blue squirrel, and then the staff report it. Now they can also report real phishing emails, which they do. So it's a really good strategy that they're using, and we're very excited to watch how it grows. And again, it's only a couple of days that we've been using it. In addition, on the Superintendent's Conference Day, put my glasses back on, the technology department was very involved. We provided assistance, of course, for everybody with technology set up. We had Austin and Marissa and Jacob, those are all the technicians. They worked with the aides. The aides are required to do mandated reporting, which many staff members are, but they work very close with them, distributing Chromebooks, helping them log in, giving them headphones, and that went very well. We were glad they can do that. It was a 3-hour training, and the IT department was heavily involved in that. Also that day, later in the afternoon, in the elementary school, there was a training for how to use the AV equipment. Now, yes, they're all tech savvy, but there's always so much more you can learn. There's a lot of equipment that was purchased through a grant. So we had the IT department, as well as the library media specialists, the computer teachers, really get training of how to set it up from soup to nuts. So there was technical training and instructional training. So that took place last week. And in the future, we'll have them back. So we're excited about that. And then the last thing, in addition to technology, I'm involved in other things as well as many of our colleagues. And one of the things I'm involved in, and I co-chair with Molly Zucker, is our wellness committee. And a lot of our administrators, we have students, we have teachers, we have support staff, Leslie's on it, the food service director, and all the administrators here. And we also have outside agencies. We meet monthly, and what we do monthly is we talk about how we can improve wellness for students, how we can improve it for staff. So 2 events that we recently had for staff was a Hudson Wellness Challenge. And the Hudson Wellness Challenge, I'll just click on it to show you, was a 6-week event, and it focused on, 1 was focusing on hydration, 2 was sleep, 3 was movement, 4 was food, 5 was sunlight, and 6 was gratitude. So many of our staff participated in it, they filled it out, and then what they would do is they would submit their name. I participated this week and so forth. And then at the very end, we pulled a number, and Blue Shield, one of our insurance providers, is providing a nice knapsack for them and tickets to a game. So we're very excited about that, and we're very thankful to Blue Shield. Another activity that we recently participated in, which was on Friday, which some of you who have been here for a while may have heard this, it's called Staff Recess. And it was where all our staff members, teachers, secretaries, administrators, security guards, custodians, anyone, IT, anyone who was interested, had choices that they could pick of activities. And we had our staff facilitate those workshops. And we're very thankful. Just to give you an idea of some of the workshops that were run all by our staff. And we also had a couple of outside agencies participate. Wellness walks, mystery game tournament, gaming, boxing fitness, quiet creative space, which was in a classroom where they can work on different activities, pickleball clinic, trivia, relax and read in the sensory room, weight room, open swim, making acrylic picture frames, felting, volleyball, cozy tea, and read a book, and nutrition nuggets. And we thought, as a wellness committee, just based on different information, we've spoken to staff, we've done surveys, everyone was looking for something to boost the morale. You know, everyone works very hard, and this was really a stress reduction and a fun way to really, you know, bond with your colleagues. Some of the feedback that we heard was, just to give you some, I like the idea of staff recess. I learned healthy tips on cooking, nice time to decompress, spending time with colleagues in a low-key context. It's nice to have the staff recess back. Recess was effective, doing fun activities with colleagues, builds a collegial atmosphere. This is all from the surveys we heard back. The wellness recess session was a great way to bond with staff that I don't see often. We had a fun time. Very effective, and it was, again, a great stress relief. And I want to thank Dr. Penman and the team, the board, for supporting this, because this was really very exciting that we heard all the feedback from the staff. I also want to thank the Wellness Committee, who put a lot of work into it, and all the facilitators who provided workshops that day. And then on the next slide is just some photos, just to give you an idea. And in the corner, that's the felting class. In the middle, that's the pickleball class. That's, well, it's the walking class. Then in the corner, we had crochet. In the middle, we had the healthy nuggets. And then the last thing was Mr. Palmieri did making the acrylic frames. So, and these are just a sampling of the photos, and he has it all and putting them on Facebook. But again, we were very thankful. It was a good day, and that's all I have. And do you have any other questions for me? All right, thank you. Thank you. I'll pass it to my colleague, Sean Davis.
Coming back from a rough week, but hi everyone, good evening. I'm here to report out an update from Human Resources. We've been doing a couple of different things. As you know, Human Resources, I say, is always ongoing, it's always tweaking, it's always fixing, it's always kind of putting processes and protocols in place so that we can try to have a systematic way of doing things. So for the last week, most of the stuff is working on ongoing, it's just not happening in the last week, so I just want to say that. So we have been collaborating with Mr. Briscoe, they're all coaches, not the teachers, because they're already certified, state certified, CPR, AAD, first aid certified. We have submitted required statements. The NICE on behalf of the district. Currently, we only have 2 coaches right now that are still pending and getting their certification, but as a requirement, as we move on, we will be working with Mr. Briscoe and getting these certifications prior to this year. So we're going to be know about it, they're already on it, and just, you know, being aware of it. Schoolfront came by, and we've been working with them consistently, because Schoolfront is a software program in which we can do a lot of the HR work. It takes away the manual labor, so our time could be more effectively. We are working with them on several different parts, but they just came. We found out we have, for the previous 2 years, we've had a credit with them. I don't know how the credit came there, but we have a credit. And I was just happy to hear that. So they came in and did an estimate of all our old personnel files. We still have personnel files that have not been scanned in a digital database. They're sitting in a folder. And it's very important that we get that in a digital database. We don't want anything to happen to those files. God forbid there was a flood or a fire. We just need that to be updated. So they're working with us for with the grant to get those specific files to be updated and upload. Anything that has happened since 2022, any hirees that came in for 2022 has already been in, because they started doing it. But we have a lot of people has been in a district for many years. And with that, we need to kind of make sure that we're up to key with that. We're currently working on providing a list of 2024 retirees for New York State retirement system. We do that every year. And they give us back some type of indication that they receive it, and congratulations to your retirees. And when we get that, we'll be saying it out loud. And this is an ongoing project. Dr. Pennyman has really had a spotlight on some of the people that have been working with time and leave. It is a huge problem that we're working on. So it's not going to be done right there, but they are continuing to work on it. So I just want to say that we are really implementing a more time and efficient way to keep track of appropriate documentation of time of leave for aides, which correspondingly is creating our seniority list and getting that updated to be able to be distributed to our union leaders and so forth with that. We have been working with civil service and eligible lists and canvassing for positions. We are setting up interviews for the current principal's position for junior high, life skills teacher for the high school, typist openings in IT. We're doing that. And HR continues to cross-train. And no, it's only myself, Ms. Gaffney, and Ms. Noblin, but it's really a lot of people coming together to figure out what's the best process. And because we now have Tracy in our department, we have instructed her to work with instructional pieces, and Missy is working with non-instructional pieces so that people know where to go to for those questions. And if they have any type of paperwork or onboarding, we're cross-training so that we are aligned and we're doing the same things for all stakeholders that's in the district. We're getting ready for our upcoming recruitment season. I have a recruitment fair next week. We're going to New Paltz. I have accepted 22 interviews for teachers. So I'm already went through their resumes. I already picked out who I want to interview. You know, we don't have time to, no, I want to see this one, this one, this one. So we are planning for that. We have a brochure. We have a video that I'm going to be showing. So I will link that in for the next one when we finalize it and get it out. And we have updates on cleanup of OLA, school fronts, postings and trackings. We have postings that have been used for several years that no longer exist, or the position has changed, and we just really need to kind of like update our status. We have positions that are currently on these forums, these softwares, that we no longer have these positions open. So we just really trying to clean up and try to make sure that we are marketable and people have access to really like apply, and it's not a hardship, and they don't have to go to 3 different websites to get one position. So we're just really trying to streamline and figure out what works best for our district. Any questions?
I appreciate like the what's working and what you're still working on.
Thanks. Have a night. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone who stayed, and good evening, board. All right. I've been engaged with, in a lot of things, so lots of collaboration with my colleagues. I'm involved in interviews, going to the literacy meeting with Dr. Fulbright-Torres. I want to give some updates in addition to that, because you can read those on your own. But one of the things that I am working on, as you know, with the sensory rooms, I'm happy to say our high school sensory room is complete. So please go if you have not been to see that room. We almost have everything in the junior high as well as the elementary school. We do have one person who has reached out to me who wants to work in one of the sensory rooms. So I am going to put the posting up again because we need 2 more people. I am completing the protocol this week, and I will share it with the related services team. What's wonderful is there is a video that shows how each piece of equipment should be used. And we will be sharing that information so that the teachers know, and of course, families will be able to access this because we'll put it on the website. But we just think it's important before the rooms are used that everyone knows how to use the equipment so that students are safe. And staff can even go in there sometimes too. It's just a beautiful setting, and it will help students de-escalate. When we come together again, I will talk about the protocol with you, but I didn't want to share it yet because I am getting it together for the staff, and we do have a video. What's wonderful is the related services team will gladly do some trainings, and so we're working on that as well because the people who will be supervising students in the rooms will be TAs, presumably, okay? We're not going to ask educational aides. We need TAs because they will have knowledge of how to address certain things. Let's say a child is completely dysregulated, and the TA who's there will know some strategies to use. It's better to have the TA there, and so we're going to utilize the TAs for that piece. Also, I wanted to give you an update regarding the Ivy League schools. I did hear from Harvard. I have to choose a different date, but I did hear from Yale also, and so April looks good. I did send out more correspondence to UPenn, and so I'm waiting for Harvard and UPenn to confirm the dates that I sent out, but we're going to Yale. Now, who is going? We will take up to 30 students from the 21st Century After-School Program. We understand that many of our seniors are going to college or have picked colleges, gotten accepted, but it still gives them the opportunity to go to an Ivy League school. And who's to say that when they decide to go to graduate school, they won't choose an Ivy League? It's just choices. So because students asked me, I said to them, I will make it happen. We're making it happen for the kids, period. The money that will fund this is going to, of course, come from grant money. And the transportation and all will be covered through grant dollars as well. So you've seen all of these wonderful bullet points. We're going to have a visit from the Brockport Research Institute on Thursday. They're going to do a walkthrough, and they're going to observe our 21st century programs at MC Smith, Hudson Junior High, and the high school. So I'm excited. They come for a long time. They're like here from 2:30 to 6, and they look at everything, and they write a comprehensive report. So it's a great collaboration. One last thing, and then I'll take my seat. All of the games are ready. I'm just waiting for them to be delivered for the 2 recreation rooms that we have for the junior high school as well as the high school. I'm really excited about this. And of course, I need 2 people, and I'm working on that, so that students who play sports will be part of the after-school program. Also, when they go to these recreation rooms, afterwards they go to sports. We're going to have a meal for them there, and it's a wonderful opportunity. We understand there has been a delay because I am partnering with Mental Health at Columbia Green. And so one of our partners had a couple of health issues, but we always extend grace. So we understand that this is going to happen. So I just want to say to each and every one of you, thank you for your support. It's a lot of work that we do. We do it for our kids because we love them so much. And thank you for walking this journey with each of us as we go forward to meet the needs of our kids, because truly, together, we can. One last plug. The vote is coming. The vote is coming in May, but so is our wonderful panorama survey. It's coming up soon. I want 100% participation from families, students, staff, teachers. We need your voices. So you're going to hear a little bit more soon, and we're hoping to designate time during the school day for the kids to take their surveys so that we can get 100% participation. But we want to hear from our community. Your voices matter. If it weren't for your voices before, we would not have recorded the names of students from K to 12. So it means something. And you know what? we're going to be sharing more information about that soon as well. It's gotten the ear of our senior leadership at NYSET. So I'm excited about the work we're doing. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members. How's everybody doing? Tired, huh? Long night. I promise I'll be brief. And I want to say that though teaching and learning is the most important thing, right, in our district, because it's all about the students and learning, it's the last presentation, but I don't take it personally. I think that everything that we're doing is for the benefit of our students. And so I appreciate all of the presentations that we've had today, because it will allow us to do even more and greater things in the future with our students. So these are the happenings in the Department of Teaching and Learning. We had a very successful March 7th Superintendent's Conference Day, as my colleague here, Ms. Rabinowitz, mentioned. We had several sessions going on simultaneously in each of the buildings. So far, we have gotten about 96 feedback forms from staff and faculty members, and I should be getting the results of that and sending it out to everybody by the end of this week. I'll have a report for them, as I did for the last one that we had. They truly appreciate that. That's something that they look forward to having. One of the feedback that we've heard, and we heard throughout the day, was the fact that we allotted some time during the day for the 2-hour mandated reporter child abuse training. As you know, every person that works with students, with children, needs to have that mandated reporter training done. And so allotting some time during the day for that was really important for a lot of our faculty members. As Ms. Brooks and I walked around that day, they just kept saying, thank you for doing this, thank you. And everyone was engaged in the cafeteria. We had, thank you for the technology department, because they did an outstanding job. Just having Chromebooks for everybody, all the aides, teaching assistants, everybody that was involved in taking this important course. Even myself in my office, I closed my door and had to do the training myself. So everyone has to do it, and so we saw a lot of progress being made in that area. On Friday, I had the honor of hosting the Columbia County All-County Music Festival here in the auditorium. It was wonderful. What an well-oiled machine that was. I mean, from one to the other, it was really great to see all the musicians, our student musicians, particularly our Hudson musicians, up there on the stage performing. And so we really had a really successful evening that night. Everyone was very thankful that we offered our auditorium because, as you know, the All-County Festival involves many districts from around the area, not just Hudson, but all of the other districts as well. So they were very thankful for that. We are rolling our sleeves and getting the Summer Scholars Program on the way. We need teachers. And so I'm saying this publicly because I know a lot of our teachers watch the YouTube channel and the streaming of this broadcast. So I want teachers to, come join us. It's going to be a fantastic summer school program for our students. So we're really looking forward to that. And just email me if you desire to be a part of it. And I'll call you in for a little conversation about the program to answer any questions that you may have, etc. We are looking for K-8 teachers in ELA and math. As far as PLCs are concerned, they are going great, particularly at the elementary school and at the junior high school level. Mr. Bear has done a great job getting our PLCs up and running at the junior high school. We're talking about student work, student data, student progress, and that's what matters. We're identifying problems of practice, meaning we take a whole bunch of data and we say, okay, what's going on? What can we do? How can we make this better for our students? So those conversations are ongoing. And the PLCs, I want to also a shout out to Carrie Patch, who also facilitates some of our PLCs at the elementary school. I've been to all of them except one. I'll be making that one tomorrow. So, you know, they're going really great, and I appreciate all of the hard work of the teachers. This is a new initiative for us, but they have embarked on it, and they are doing a great job embracing it. It's really a fantastic progress that's being made in our district. I was also involved, I'll skip over that one and I'll talk about the other one later. So I'm also involved with writing the ESSA grants for next year. That's a lot of work. It takes a lot of preparation and also kind of surveying the principals as to how they would like to spend money, their money, the ESSA grant money, Title 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we talk about what are the kinds of programs that they have today, you know, this year. What programs are working, what programs are not working. Those are ongoing conversations that we're having. We don't know how much money we're gonna get, so you know, we try as much as possible to make sure that we use the money effectively and, you know, in a very thoughtful manner, particularly when it pertains to PD for teachers and teaching assistants, the instructional staff. We take that very seriously. So whatever we can do through the ESSA grants to provide that, we do. So now, the topic of the week. This is something that it came to our attention last week. I was involved in a webinar with NYSED regarding our new designation for our junior high school as a TSI school. And so I'm going to invite Mr. Bear to come up, and Mr. Bear is going to talk to us a little bit about the communication plan. So what is it, how did it come about, and what he's done to inform all constituents?
Hi, good evening, everyone. So as Dr. Corey Torres mentioned, on Thursday, we were involved in a webinar with State Ed. It was really just an informational meeting going over the next steps in regards to the designation. Many other schools were involved in the meeting as well. Monday morning, we held a staff check-in where Dr. Pennyman presented all of our staff with this new information in regards to the designation of the school. I then wrote a letter and sent it home Monday afternoon to all families, updating them of this new designation, what it involved, what it entailed, our next steps. I also then shared that letter with our staff who were unable to attend Monday morning's meeting. The next step in the process will be to form a team that will be involved in writing a detailed set plan. We did have a team last year, so we do still have a few members. We also will be reaching out to any additional parents, support staff, teachers who would like to be a part of that process. And as the process goes more in depth, I will be fully transparent with all the staff, families, and keep everyone updated as well as the board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bear. So you might ask yourself, what is a TSI school? A TSI school is a school that has been identified for targeted support and improvement. And this is based on the low performance of one of its subgroups. Those subgroups, as you know, are any of those that are mentioned in the PowerPoint slide. In our case, it is evident via the NYSED email that we received. that we have been identified at the junior high school for the lack of performance of our Hispanic students. So we will continue to work on that. As you know, the TSI designation, it's there for about 2 years, and then it goes to if we don't show improvement in that area, it goes to the next level. We don't want that, of course. We're going to try our best to remove both our elementary school and our junior high school from the TSI list and the TSI designation. So how is a school identified as a TSI? A school is identified as a TSI when they receive a level 1 on a combination of indicators, new indicators that the NYSET put out. One of them is attendance. Another one is core subject performance, so grade academic performance, weighted average, and student growth. So one of the things that we need to do is make sure that we have the proper tools, instruments to see how our students are faring on ELA, math, all the subject areas that students are tested in, that have high stake assessments. And so, giving you a little bit of a preview of what we're going to be doing for next year is investing on a good tool that will allow us to see how our students are faring in mastery of the next gen standards. And so that instrument right now has been identified by the district as NWA MAP. And so we are currently looking into training for our staff so that it's early on, and for our administrators so that we can prepare for the following school year when we have it going on. And that'll be year 1 of NWA and MAP. These conversations have been happening for the past, since I started here actually. Back in July, I was introduced to my first time that I was here, a presentation by the NWA MAP people. And so, we have been having ongoing conversations about it. So what's next for the junior high school? As Mr. Baer said, there has to be a team in place that it is a representative of classroom teachers. It could be, it's also could be the school leadership team, the SLT. It has to have administrators and other staff members, and also parents are part of that team. The first task that we learned about from the webinar that we had was that we're going to have a needs assessment conducted. And that consists of surveys that we roll out to the staff, to the students. We interview students, we interview staff members, and we want to know what's working and what's not working. Then after the needs assessment is conducted, we identify key priority areas that we want to focus on. And the team will be then responsible to have an action plan put together, which is the SSEP. That SSEP, which we already had, we may adjust. So some of the things that are there, based on the new designation, we may need to go more in depth and do something more specific to the Hispanic population, because that's the subgroup that was identified. Once we are done with that and it is approved by the district, the improvement plan will be implemented. And they will have a liaison, which would be me. I will attend those meetings on a regular basis, the SSEP meetings or SLT meetings. I do the same thing for the elementary school. And, one of the things that happens at these meetings is that we look at data and we look to see how the students are doing. We will also receive additional technical support, and this will happen from all the departments in our district. So it could be technology, it could be anything in the district that could help us move away from this designation. We have to survey, like I said, parents, teachers, and students every year. We may use some of the panorama surveys. So yes, we want to make sure that we have 100% participation, because that information is going to be critical for outlining what we want to do with our SSEP. Last but not least, I just want to say that when a school is identified as a TSI and it doesn't improve after 2 years, the school then goes into what they call a comprehensive support and improvement, CSI school. So we have to keep that in mind, especially because the elementary school has had 1 year already of being a TSI school. So we will continue to monitor their progress, monitor the data as it comes to us, but more importantly, we have to now shift gears a little bit and support the junior high school with putting an SSEP together that is supportive and speaks to what we need at the junior high school in order to get out of the TSI designation. Any questions?
I have 2 questions.
Yes.
One, is there any indication, or was there any indication in Thursday's meeting about whether or not the elementary school has made any progress?
So we didn't speak about the elementary school because it was just, that webinar was just about the newly designated schools. So the other schools that were there they just found out, like we did, that our junior high school, was designated as a TSI school.
And then my second question is, obviously, gotta love New York State's turnaround time, right? This is last year's state test scores. Does that mean that this is also last year's GPA and attendance data that rolls together, and therefore, like, when we're thinking about 2 years to show improvement, the first year is already 2/3 of the way through,
Right.
correct? And so I'm just wondering, I mean, again, I recognize that, like, you all got this information Thursday, so I don't expect an answer to this right now, but like, what do we need to do between now and the end of the year, given that, like, this is year 1, not year 0, in what's a very rapid turnaround?
Yes, so I think the most important part is to create a doable SSEP, okay? Something that we can focus on for the remainder of this school year and for next year. Create some measurable goals for our students and our staffs to make sure that we can progress monitor those goals. Because if we don't have a numeric value attached to those goals, it's going to be very difficult for us to measure that. And so, it's something that's doable that we're probably doing right now. I'll give you an example. If we are having the Fast Bridge assessments, ensuring that we have those Fast Bridge assessment data, we analyze that, and then we put some measurable goals for the end of the year Fast Bridge data. So in looking at that, what's doable for us as a district, what's doable for us as a junior high school. These are ongoing conversations that need to happen, and they will happen at those meetings that we will have on a monthly basis. As soon as we have that done, then, we will make sure that we continue to progress monitor. Did I hear something here? Yes.
That I think will help answer that question a little bit. When the elementary school was first classified as a TSI, it was very wise, I think, of Dr. Pennyman and the consultant that she brought in, and she brought us all together 3 buildings. So Mr. Mayor and Mr. Reardon were already part of that initial process and started writing theoretical steps for the junior high and the high school as opposed to just for middle school. So it's a really collaborative team approach. So they already have essentially started along with us.
Thank you for that. We were proactive because we were trying to predict what would happen. As you know, the students from the elementary school move into the junior high school, and with that same population. So we started preparing since last year for this moment. So we'll just take what we have from last year and make it, add to it, enhance it, review, and then continue with that.
Any other questions? Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll
like to make a motion to approve consistent item agendas A through J.
Second.
All in favor? Did anyone sign up?
No.
Thank you. Important dates. Facility Committee meeting, March 25th, 2025, 4 to 5 p.m., District Conference Room, High School. Policy Committee meeting, March 25th, 2025, 5 to 5:45 p.m. in the high school library. Board of Education meeting, including budget community workshop, March 25th, 2025, 6 p.m. in the high school auditorium. Policy Committee meeting, April 8th, 2025, 5 to 5:45 p.m. in the high school library. Board of Education meeting, including community budget workshop, April 8th, 2025, 6 p.m. in the high school auditorium. At this time, we will be entering into an executive session for the purpose of discussing real estate at 8:56.
Second?
All in favor? There'll be no further business. What did she give me?